It was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon, a calm day on set in Belfast, the kind Jamie Dornan often described as his quiet pocket of normalcy. He was in the middle of a scene when his assistant rushed over, face pale, phone in hand. "Jamie, it's urgent." He frowned, taking the phone, expecting something about work, maybe a scheduling issue. But the voice on the other end wasn't one he recognized. It was trembling, frantic, a stranger trying to stay composed. "Mr. Dornan? I'm calling from St. Mary's Hospital. Your wife, Amelia Warner, she's been brought in by ambulance. It's serious. You should come immediately." For a moment, the world around him stopped. The noise of the crew faded into silence, and all he could hear was the faint ringing in his ears. "What happened?" he managed to ask, his voice breaking. "She was out with your children at the park. Witnesses said she suddenly collapsed in pain. She's conscious, but we're still running tests. Please hurry." The phone nearly slipped from his hand. Without another word, Jamie grabbed his coat and sprinted for his car, ignoring the questions from crew members calling after him. His heart pounded violently against his ribs as he sped through the streets, the rain smearing the windshield like tears. He kept replaying the words in his head: collapsed in pain, serious, hospital. Amelia had been fine that morning. She'd kissed him goodbye with her usual calm smile, her laughter filling the house as the girls begged for just 5 more minutes before school. She'd said she was taking them for a walk later, nothing fancy, just some sunshine. How could everything change in a single hour? When Jamie arrived at the hospital, the smell of antiseptic and the low hum of machines hit him like a wall. He pushed past reception, almost shouting her name. A nurse guided him quickly down a hallway. "She's in the emergency ward," she said softly. "The doctors are with her now." He reached the room just as they were wheeling Amelia out toward the examination wing. She looked fragile, pale, her breathing shallow. Their eyes met briefly. A flicker of recognition, fear, and love in that single second. He reached for her hand, but the gurney was already moving. "Amelia," he called out. Her lips moved, barely a whisper. "The kids, they're okay." Then the doors closed. Jamie stood frozen in the corridor, hands trembling, chest tight. The nurse gently touched his arm. "Please, wait here. The doctors will speak with you soon." He nodded numbly and sat down on one of the cold metal chairs, staring blankly at the floor tiles. The minutes stretched endlessly, each one heavier than the last. He could hear the echo of monitors and hurried footsteps, the muffled voices of doctors behind the doors. His mind was a storm. Images of their children's faces, Amelia's laughter, her soft voice humming lullabies in the kitchen. Finally, a doctor appeared. A middle-aged man with tired eyes and a clipboard pressed to his chest. "Mr. Dornan," he said gently, "your wife is stable for now, but we've discovered something that needs further attention." Jamie stood up instantly. "What do you mean? What's wrong?" The doctor hesitated. "During her scans, we found inflammation around her pancreas and some unusual lesions. We're conducting more tests, but it appears she may have an advanced form of autoimmune pancreatitis, which can lead to severe complications if untreated." Jamie's face went blank. He tried to make sense of the words, but they felt like static in his ears. "Is it life-threatening?" he finally asked. The doctor's silence was answer enough. "It's treatable," he said slowly, "but it will be a long road. She's being transferred to the observation ward now. We'll know more once the biopsy results come back." Jamie swallowed hard, his throat burning. "Can I see her?" The doctor nodded. "Just for a few minutes." When he entered the room, the sight of Amelia nearly broke him. She looked impossibly small against the white sheets, an IV in her arm, her skin pale but still beautiful in that familiar, quiet way. The monitor beeped softly beside her, a fragile rhythm that felt like the only thing keeping his world intact. He sat down, taking her hand carefully in his. Her fingers were cold. "I'm here," he whispered. "You're safe now, love." Amelia's eyes fluttered open for a moment, her lips curving faintly. "You shouldn't have left work." Don't talk like that, he said, his voice cracking. I'm not leaving your side. Tears welled in her eyes, but she smiled, a small, brave smile that broke him completely. Outside the room, the hallway lights flickered. The nurse walked past quietly, and somewhere down the corridor, a child laughed, a haunting reminder that life continued, even when yours felt like it had stopped. Jamie leaned forward, pressing his forehead to Amelia's hand, his voice trembling. Please, just come back to me, he whispered. And for the first time in years, the man who had faced fame, cameras, and the weight of the world, felt utterly powerless. The hospital had its own rhythm, the constant hum of machines, the soft squeak of nurses' shoes, the quiet beeping that marked every passing second. For Jamie Dornan, time had lost all meaning. Days blurred into nights, nights into more waiting. He slept on the small couch by Amelia's bed, his clothes still creased from the day he'd rushed there. Doctors had confirmed the diagnosis: autoimmune pancreatitis with early organ involvement, rare, aggressive, and unpredictable. Amelia would need long-term treatment, close monitoring, and potentially surgery. The words echoed in his head like a haunting refrain, a long fight ahead. But even in her frailty, Amelia stayed calm, always the one to comfort others. You can stop looking at me like I'm disappearing, she teased one morning, her voice faint but steady. I'm still here, Jamie. He smiled through tired eyes. I know, he said, though he didn't sound convincing. I can't stand seeing you like this. Amelia reached for his hand, her grip weaker than before. You've handled worse, she whispered. Remember when you almost fainted changing our first diaper? He laughed, a fragile, broken sound, but real nonetheless. You said you'd never tell anyone about that. I didn't, she said, smiling. Just reminding you that you're stronger than you think. Despite her words, the next days were hard. The pain came in waves, sharp and merciless. Jamie would sit beside her, holding her hand through every episode, whispering softly while nurses adjusted her IV. The sight of her wincing, her body trembling, tore him apart. When she finally fell asleep, he'd step into the hallway, pacing restlessly, staring at the sterile white walls that felt colder with every hour. He barely ate. Every phone call from friends or his agent went unanswered. Acting, interviews, projects, all of it faded into insignificance. One afternoon, while Amelia was resting, Jamie slipped outside the hospital to clear his mind. The sky was gray, and a drizzle hung in the air. He stood by the parking lot, head bowed, his phone in his hand. A text from a close friend blinked on the screen. We're praying for you both. Stay strong. He turned off the phone. The only strength he had left was inside that hospital room. When he returned, one of the doctors met him at the door. Mr. Dornan, he said carefully, the next few weeks will be crucial. We'll start an aggressive treatment plan. She's responding slowly, but that's a good sign. Jamie nodded numbly. Whatever she needs, just do everything. Later that evening, as the hospital quieted, Amelia woke to find him sitting at her bedside, scribbling something in a notebook. What are you writing? She asked softly. He hesitated, closing the notebook halfway. Just thoughts. Things I'm afraid I'll forget to tell you. Like what? She smiled weakly. He took a breath. Like how I still remember the first time I saw you. That day at the audition. You were humming to yourself, and I thought, God, she looks like peace. Amelia's eyes glistened. You still think that? He nodded. Even now. A tear rolled down her cheek, and Jamie wiped it away gently. The beeping monitor filled the silence between them, steady, reassuring. For the first time in days, she seemed at ease. Promise me something, she said quietly. Anything. Don't lose yourself in this. The kids need to see their dad smile. I need to see it, too. Jamie closed his eyes, fighting the lump in his throat. I'll try, he whispered. In the following days, he brought their daughters to visit. The girls tiptoed into the room, clutching drawings they'd made, stick figures holding hands under a bright sun. "We made you better, Mommy," one of them said proudly. Amelia laughed softly, tears in her eyes. "You always do." Jamie watched from the doorway, overwhelmed by the fragile beauty of it all. How love could exist even in the shadow of fear. For a fleeting moment, it felt like hope had returned. That night, as the girls slept at home, Jamie sat by Amelia again. She looked peaceful, the pain temporarily subdued. He reached for her hand and whispered, "You're not fighting alone. I'll be here, every step, every sleepless night, every quiet morning." Amelia stirred, her voice barely audible. "I know you will." He stayed like that until dawn, the faint glow of sunrise creeping through the blinds. When the doctor entered to check her vitals, Jamie was still there, his hand never leaving hers. It wasn't a movie moment, no grand music swelling in the background. Just two souls clinging to each other through the storm. And as the morning light washed over her pale face, Jamie finally realized something. Love isn't measured by the easy days. It's defined by the nights you sit awake, terrified of losing it, and the strength to keep holding on anyway. In that sterile hospital room, surrounded by the hum of machines and the faint scent of antiseptic, Jamie Dornan made a silent promise to his wife. Whatever this fight brought, they would face it together.